What's up?
We're back. We got the man, the myth, the legend, the crazy man here, Chris Savage with Wistia. Super excited to have him on board with us today in the hot seat. Chris, how you doing, buddy?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Good. And Mr. Chris Simmons, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. Can you hear me? I had to during the whole tech check. I didn't even have my microphone plugged in. That's how awesome I am.
Well, hey, everybody. We're super excited for everybody to be here. I know a lot of you are going to keep popping on here, and this has been a much requested expert interrogation. So we've brought it to you. So be sure in the second half of this show to get your questions in. And right below Mr. Savage, Chris, with the C, you'll see a submit a question button. If you're in guest mode, which a lot of you are, to be able to interact in the chat or to submit your question, try to do either one, and you'll have a thing pop up that says to log in. Log in via Facebook or Twitter. That's the quickest and easiest way to submit your question or to be able to interact in the chat. But again, we'll take your questions the second half. If you guys are loving the content as all this is happening, we would love for you to share it on Facebook or Twitter. We're trying to help as many people as possible out, and without your help, it's difficult to do that at times. So we love what we're doing. We're super excited. If you're on the Expert Interrogation page, you'll also see, guys, we're giving away a GoPro here at the end of the month. So if you just click on that link that's on this page here, you'll be able to be taken to that and be entered to win. We'll be announcing that with Griffin Hammond from Indie Mogul at the end of the month on YouTube, so it'll be super fun. And I don't want to take up much more time. Let's get this show on the road. So give us a little background up front about yourself and how Wistia came about, and then we'll kind of go from there. So.
Okay, I'll try to give you guys like the 1 minute version instead of the 6 hour drunken version.
That's another show.
But basically, yeah, no, that version's fun, but it's a very, very different thing. It's too early in the day, really, is the thing. No, basically started Wistia about 6.5 years ago with my co-founder, Brendan. We were just a year out of school, and I had worked in film before, so I'd done a lot of producing and directing of very short independent stuff. And basically we saw this opportunity that online video is changing, and it was changing really fast, and we thought, filmmakers are not being, they're not being able to take advantage of this stuff back then, and so that's kind of where we initially started. And basically we couldn't make any money for the first year, and we're running out of our savings. And that whole time we're trying to get artists to make things, and we were making the wrong products and all different sorts of things. And we started working with businesses, and the light bulb went on that we could really help them a lot more because they weren't using video every day. And if the ease of use that we could make for them in our interface and just the problems that we were solving were completely different. And it just kind of went from there. In the last 5.5 years, it's the product's evolved and gotten better and gotten simpler. And the last couple of years, the business has really started to grow, which is really great. And we're thankful for all the people who use Wistia and have helped us do that.
Awesome. Well, we're Wistia users here, everybody. Everything Create Insights is powered by Wistia. We've been using it for over a year now and have loved the service and have been able to really utilize some of its functionality for capturing email, to really help our business. One thing that you're doing for everybody that a lot of people might not know about, and if you're on the Expert Interrogation page and you click About Chris Savage, you're going to see their kind of teaser video for their Learning Center. And, recently you've implemented that, which, can really help anyone, whether you're the small business owner that really is just trying to dabble with doing video and utilize this, to guys with video production companies, and explain what kind of, prompted you to bring out the Learning Center to help all the professionals out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question, and I'm glad that people have responded as well as they have to that, because we put a lot of heart and soul into it. But we were making lots of videos, putting them out on our blogs, on blog posts, and getting reactions and comments. They would kind of get lost, and there was no structure to it. And yet, it's very common that we'll talk to people and they'll say, should I hire a video producer, or should I learn how to make this myself? And what should I get started with, and what camera should I use, and how should I record the audio, and lots of questions around that. Like, how should you mix video with email, and how do you build a long-term strategy around marketing versus kind of like short-term bursts. And so we thought like the Learning Center could be a place to kind of organize that content and make it a lot easier to work through, and also just give us a venue that encourages us to make that kind of content. I mean, we're huge believers in content ourselves. Like, we do very, very little paid advertising. It's all making videos, writing blog posts, other kinds of like event-driven things, but that's predominantly what it is. And I believe that we should be drinking our own Kool-Aid and eating our own dog food, and because if we can't grow our business with marketing, with video, then like, what are we doing? And so the Learning Center is about that, and it's about just reducing the friction to people getting the content, which hopefully makes it easier for them and empowers them, and hopefully it encourages us to make better stuff.
Awesome. Chris, I'll let you ask some questions here too. We'll kind of bounce back and forth on this call. I know you've got a lot of...
No, I think it's so cool. The Learning Center, when you guys first came out of that, or with that, it was amazing how when I started going through it, I just got it like immediately. I was like, holy crap, man, exactly what you just said. We got all this great content to train our clients, but it's everywhere. It's on YouTube, it's on our blog post, It's on Facebook, all these things. And every single day, clients are calling, they're asking the same stinking questions from us, right? And so when you guys did that, it made absolute sense. And in fact, I've already started pitching, marketing models to clients, real estate agents, and doing the same concept, the Learning Channel, the Learning Center. So have you found with that Learning Center, are people calling less? I mean, what's kind of been the business result for you guys, maybe other than just the fact that it's a marketing tool?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's a lot. I think one thing is like in support, if people are asking questions that are around those topics, it's like we can do them a much better service by pointing them to something that really walks you through visual. I mean, does what video does really well, like, walks you exactly through like how to do something, what to look for. Like the lighting kit that we put out, for example, I've had tons of people tell me that they use it and they bought the lights and they set them up and they notice a difference. And that's like amazing, because walking through that with each individual would take a really long time. Honestly, the SEO benefits have been really great because they're all on our site. And so, people go searching for a lot of that content and they show up. It's had other business results. Like at the end of every video in the Learning Center, we have our like email gate that just says like, if you're interested in hearing about more content like this, put in your email address. And so it also is just like kind of an email list building kind of gold mine, because a lot of people who really enjoy the content end up signing up for stuff, and then we send them more videos when they come out. Those videos have more of an audience. They get shared more. We learn more. There's a ton of stuff that comes from it. But those are a few of the like very tangible
So this is probably a topic for another day. But how long before Wistia creates sort of a playlist that can look like a learning area, learning center? So we could just drag and drop and then just embed the code on a page and boom, there it is. Anyway.
That's an interesting idea. I can't really tell you anything about that, but I like that idea, Chris. I like that.
I'm always thinking, Michael, I got a ton, buddy, but if you got some more, jump on in.
Yeah, well, in regards to video marketing, we've got a lot of guys on the call today, and who'll be coming on who own video production companies, video professionals, not necessarily a small business owner, although they own a business, but completely different from maybe a lot of people that might be utilizing your service. Sure, there's a lot of video professionals, but so many guys are so afraid of. There's a lot of talk and chatter about you've got the different options of where to capture the email. You can either do it right at the beginning before you even can watch the video, halfway through, or at the end. For the video professionals out there who own video production companies and they have their demo reels and whatnot, and they're utilizing Wistia, so many are afraid of using that type of service. Oh, that's going to make me appear sleazy or scammy, or I shouldn't capture emails. But obviously, in your space, we know how important that is. talk about that and where you think that might be best suited for some of these guys, and tell them how powerful it really is to do that, and what they, a little bit of a process there, if that makes sense. I know that's a long question, but.
No, I think it's a really good question. I mean, I think because you can go overboard with trying to ask for people's email addresses, and it feels scammy, and it feels scammy for a reason, because lots of that stuff is. But I would say that the answer is really around, like, it's kind of twofold. What's the main goal of the video? And if the main goal of the video is you want to build trust with your audience and you want to teach them something, then maybe you don't have to. You can ask for the email on the back side of that, because you've earned that trust. And I mean, I've noticed this phenomenon, which is if someone makes it through a video, they tend to feel better about that thing that they made it through. It's just like if you're watching CSI and you always find yourself turning it off, at some point you stop watching CSI. But if you're watching Lost and you watch it to the end of every episode, then you're more likely to want to watch the next episode. And so if you have a video and it's just designed to teach people something about what you do, explain your product really well, like, yeah, I would definitely not put the email capture at the beginning of that. But I might put it at the end and say, sign up so that you don't miss, like, our next tips that are coming out about this. Or I might at the end put a call to action, which is like, oh, if you made it through this, now it's time to, you can try the product right now, like, just click here. I think the content that lends itself really well to gating at the beginning is a similar kind of content that you would want to gate, like an ebook or a recorded webinar is actually what I see a ton of people doing, which is you have much longer form content. It's going to be a real commitment if someone's going to make it through a half an hour, an hour-long piece of content. And actually, they're almost like more invested to watch it all the way through if they gave you their email address, because that's the currency they paid to watch. And so it's like, oh, here's my email address, and now I will watch this. And because I gave you my email address, I'm really going to try to get value out of it. And then it's up to you not to spam them and to treat them right and to give them more great content. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, if you were let's just even use the example of a wedding videographer. If a wedding videographer's got samples on their website of different wedding videos, wouldn't you say that it makes sense for that person at the end of their videos to put a call to action to contact them, to, fill out for more information? And I think that's the thing that guys take for granted, is if people are watching their samples on their website, this gives them the ability to see if their content's engaging. For one, that's not something we've even talked about. What is the engagement of the videos? But then being able to give people a call to action so that they just made it 100% through your sample video. Now, give them a reason to contact you. Give them that ability. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to get people to your site and get them to do stuff in general, right? As marketers, like, that's what we're trying to do. And when you can actually get someone there, like, don't lose that opportunity to channel that engagement into another action, Like, if you make it through a video, it's probably because your video is actually good or useful. And it's surprising what happens if someone watches content and they think it's really useful. They often want more of it, Like, it's not like most of us don't end up making one piece of content and that's it. And we just, like, hitch our whole wagon to just, like, one piece of content. I mean, the people I see are doing it really well are making content on an ongoing basis. They're figuring out ways to make better content. They're reacting to their audience, and there's always more stuff there. And people want to stay on top of that, but it's hard to do that if you don't have a way for you to contact them or for them to follow you or whatever it is you want them to do.
And it's
perfect. And Chris, before you take your question,
real
quick, Chris, both Chris's here. Anybody who's been popping in, I want to take a few quick things every once in a while. Anybody popping in, we're going to take your questions. So you can submit right below Mr. Savage, submit a question. It'll ask you to log in if you're in guest mode. Log in via Facebook or Twitter. That's the quickest and easiest way. But make sure you get your questions in. If you guys have questions for him, the second half of the show, we're going to take your questions. So let's keep moving along.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, I mean, we talked just a little bit about this off camera, but it's amazing how, pre-2000, basically, the whole idea of having a website was it had to be sticky. And that was kind of pre-video. Stickiness, basically, the longer you could keep somebody on your site, the higher probability that they were going to convert. And then the web kind of did this weird thing for 10 years. Who knows what it's going to be. Social media and everything happened. But it's almost like we're sort of going back to that older time just with newer media. I mean, if a client stays on your website for an hour watching content and they're, spending 5 seconds on a competitor's website, how do you feel? I mean, what are the odds, just from a marketing or sales point in general, if they're on your site longer, how can that convert people, or what does that do?
I mean, for me, it all comes down to trust. I think we live in an age where it's really hard to trust things online and in general. And, is this person scamming me? Is this website legitimate? Is this a good deal? Like, if I buy this Groupon, will the company still be in business? It's all about trust. And I think the thing about video is that it's a time that people actually get to spend with you and spend with your company and see what you care about. I mean, you asked me, Chris, at the before we went live, you're like, oh, it's so awesome that you guys talk about your company culture and, what have you, like, have the Wistia company culture show through. But that if you think about it, like, and this is kind of a conscious decision, we never say the Wistia company culture is X, Y, Z, and these are our values, and we really care about it, and that's it. Like, we just show what we care about, and we try to put lots of different people on camera. We try to put people on camera who are the experts at what they do. So it's not just the Chris Savage show. It's like the Brennan Schwartz show and the Jeff Vincent show and the Chris Levine show and the Max Cole show. It's like lots of different people because this is a business of lots of different people. And but all the time people say to me like, man, like, I love the fact that you guys like put your company culture forward. I love that you do that. And we never say that we're doing it. It's just that we show what we care about. And I think that's just trust in the brand and trust in the people. And I think it's something that anyone can do because we're all like, we all do this in person anyway. Like, this is just like the best content is when I think, at least for me, the best content is when I'm watching somebody and I feel like they're being themselves and I feel like I'm connecting with them, and they're not acting, they're not faking it, they're just them.
Well, and it's so cool how, let's be honest, some of the guys on camera at Wistia are great and others not so great. But it's awesome to get to know them. And I don't mean like they're bad on camera. It's just some you can tell the guys that are used to talking and selling and pitching, and others are, hey, I'm just the bean counter, but here's what I think about this, and it's just such an awesome way to do it. So us as video producers, I know a lot of us are like, oh, well, we suck on camera. You know what? Not that I'm good now, but I was terrible the first time I hit record and tried to do it. I was terrible when we first started. I was horrific. It was so bad. It's just hopefully that content never makes it out there because it was just so horribly embarrassing. But I think that's also when you see people who have a different range of their talent on camera, we pretty much all learn this here. And so we want those people to get on there more so that they get more comfortable. And it's easier for them to be themselves when they're talking into a camera instead of talking to a person. So staying on that topic for a second, we also talked off camera about how a lot of the challenges that we have as small 1 or 2 person shops is that, trying to prioritize time to market our businesses the way that we know how. I mean, if I could market, Six Strong Media the way that I promote my clients, I'm sure we could completely knock it out of the park and have record numbers every year and all that stuff. So what are some tips that you have for those smaller companies where there aren't as many people running around doing the work in the background to kind of commit to it? And how can they do that? Maybe what would a monthly calendar look like in terms of taking time to self-promote in the way that you guys do at Wistia?
That's a great question. I would say I think the thing that we do that translates is every time we notice that we're telling someone the same thing, like, okay, should this be a video? Is this an important enough thing that we should turn this into something else? And it kind of gets filed away, and it's like we have this big list of things that we want to make content about because we're talking about it a lot. And I think just even writing it down and having like a vocabulary around that content makes it much easier to approach, because you're never going to decide, like, even if you have an off day, like, oh, today's the day we're going to make the video for us, like, that's not going to be money in our pockets. Like, shouldn't we be hustling to get another deal? But I think when you reduce the friction to making that content, it makes it a lot easier to do that. And the trade-off for us is a lot of the people who are in the videos, like, we will stop work to shoot the content at this point because we know it's so valuable. And some of those people are coding things, and some of those people are writing emails, and some of those people are typically on the phone. And it does pull away from the other normal business actions, but the way that we do it is we're like, we know this is really important. It's going to take 2 hours for this person. They're going to do it, and they're going to get out of there, and then we're going to get it out the door and push it out there. So I would say the first thing is just really making a list. And the second thing is you deserve to make content, video or otherwise, about yourselves at least once a month. And I think the hard part is when we first started, we were making videos that was this is what Wistia does. I think Wistia is so great. Don't you want to use it? La 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 la. And that content was really boring. And people who are really interested in Wistia will poke around and kind of figure out what it is. And we still make content to explain that stuff, but the content that we found we found it actually inadvertently was really interesting was behind the scenes stuff and kind of fun things. There's actually one video that we put out that was a huge turning point for us. And I'll try to find it really quick, but basically we made this video that was a time lapse of us moving furniture around our office. And why did we do this? Because we move desks once a month. We just randomly assign where everyone sits, and we're like, you know what? We should just shoot a time lapse of this and see what happens. I put that link in there. But what happened is we put it out there, and we thought all right, this is really just for us. It's just a record of this thing. It's kind of fun. It's got a little music to it. And then we saw the engagement for that video, and it was way higher than any of the other videos that we had made that were actually trying to explain what Wistia did. On average, people watched 91% of that video. And if you watch it at some point, it's a minute long with no talking and no description about anything that's going on and barely showing anything. And yet the engagement was so high. And it kind of showed us that there's these things that are really simple that we just take for granted all the time that someone else might actually really connect with or find really valuable. And it's just taking a step back and saying, whoa, is this a story we should tell? And if you do that, I think it makes it a lot easier to make that content for yourself.
Well, we try to talk all the time with our members that create that no matter how big the company or how complicated you think it's going to be to do business with them, all business is people doing business with people. And so I think what you're talking about there is a great example of the fact that, you're opening the front door, you're getting past the receptionist desk, and this is really what's going on back here. And people, I think clients resonate with that. I mean, we've got a relatively, small office here, certainly not anywhere near the size of what you'd expect based on the kind of work that we do. And I kind of used to be nervous about bringing my big corporate executive clients in here thinking they wouldn't be impressed, but they love it. They love that it's just so small and it's quaint, but yet the power of the work that we put out of here is extraordinary. And I'm saying that because so many of us are home office producers or very small shared office space type stuff. Own it, guys. Don't be afraid to show people who you are, because it's what I've learned is it's very cool for people to connect what you're doing with how you do it. And I know that that's kind of an old style, what is it, Ogilvy or whatever. That's all the way back in the old days where, we're just going to start showing people how we do what we do, and their sales started skyrocketing. But let's talk about from a, we know that self-promotion is important, and guys, you got to take the time to do it. I'm telling you, it works, even for us as producers. I became a believer when I just committed to doing it, and I got a call out of a company from Atlanta. 2 days later, we had a $10,000 contract. Case closed. I no longer question whether or not it works. So guys, you got to get on this. Let's talk a little bit about the analytics side of things, because to me, I think that is the massive, massive, massive game changer with what you guys are doing at Wistia. How did you guys come about thinking we need to start figuring out how to connect, who's watching it, how they're watching it, as opposed to just the standard, well, this many people viewed it, Yeah.
Basically, we just wanted to try to get a sense of like, if you're talking to someone one-to-one, you can kind of tell, like, you say something, they nod, they smile, like they laugh, they like and ah, and they do these things, and you can tell like, oh, this is a good. I'm saying something that's interesting. I really lost them at this point, and you just kind of iterate on your message, and over time you figure out how to make your message much more crisp and to the point, and just that happens naturally. And then when you talk to a room of people, it's a lot harder to figure out what's going on because people don't want to react and they don't and ah like at everything you say if you're talking to a room of 100 people. But you can still go and like kind of gauge the clapping, and you can kind of get a sense of how you're performing. And we just thought, if you're making videos online, like it shouldn't be that hard to take a look at like how the individuals are watching and roll that up into how the audience is watching overall. And that picture should actually help you figure out things that you might not have been able to see otherwise. And we basically started using it ourselves. Some of our first customers were actually using it for training, where they wanted to see like compliance training. Are my employees watching this thing? Blah blah blah. And like that didn't really resonate with us, and it was fine, but it wasn't like that exciting. And then we decided we were going to make it work for embedded videos, or we we're going to make it work more for like a marketing use case. And the first video that we ever actually tracked the stats on in the marketing capacity, because we just tend to move pretty fast, was the video of us announcing the analytics. And so I had this video, and it was a screencast that I made. It was like 2 minutes long. And the first minute and 30 seconds was me talking about how great Wistia is, all this stuff. This is before the Office Switch thing long ago. And then the last 30 seconds was like, and introducing these amazing analytics where you can tell what people watch and blah, blah, blah. So I sent it to like 30 people in the press, and I wanted to see what they thought, of course. So I go back and I look at the analytics, and basically I lost everyone before I actually got to the part where I talked about the analytics, because they're like, I've seen this story before, like I know what you do. And so I started calling them up, and I'm like, hey, I know you didn't watch this, hey, I know you didn't watch this, hey, I know you didn't watch this, and they're just like, okay, this actually sounds really interesting. Like I can see how this works. And it's just evolved from there. I mean, I think now like there's actually just today, I think it was announced, but Pardot, which is a marketing automation company, built an integration with us so that you can just track on their side all conversions and leads. How are they affected by the videos that they watch? When we launched labs like last month, we put in a Google Analytics lab, so you can automatically pump your data on what people are watching into Google Analytics. And I think you're going to see a lot more stuff around that from us and from the market at large, just because it's like the only way of getting that feedback that previously, at least for me, you would have gotten in person otherwise.
Now, I've got a question that is really interesting when you think about this. So if I were to take this to one of my clients, I make a video for them, and I kind of incorporate, or maybe we could talk about what's the best way to achieve this, but let's say I've created a video for my client, they're putting it on their website, and the engagement's not good. And so all of a sudden, do you go back to the client and go, oh, hey, we made you a video that only has a 30% engagement. Maybe we need to rework that video. I mean, what would be a good process for somebody there? Because, some people have a hard enough time paying for the initial project as it is, let alone coming at them and saying, oh, you know what, we didn't potentially, like, how would you word that? How would you go about that if you're understanding kind of the question there?
That is a really good question, and I'm seeing a lot more of it in terms of people helping their clients. And I think it comes to reframing the whole thing from the get-go, which is, I've had some people tell me, a client said that they wanted this video to be 3 minutes long, and they were really obsessed with the script, and I told them, no, it should be shorter. And we put it out there, and then you look at the analytics, and you don't have to say, I told you so, but it's like, I did what you told me, but take a look. Like it's not performing the way you thought it was going to. What I tend to say is that it's really just like, it's really hard to know what your audience wants. And if you think you're going to make one video that is going to work perfectly for everybody on the first try, like that's unrealistic. Like we have redone the videos on our front page so many times, and they are like the hardest videos for us to make, because who is the audience that's going to see them? How ready are they to get engaged with that content? How far should we go in terms of explaining what we do? Like, it's really challenging. And my mindset changed because I used to think like we'll make one video and that'll be it, and now I realize we're going to have to make a lot and learn from that. So what I tell people is to tell producers and agencies, to tell your clients is, it's hard to make this stuff perfect, but we're going to work with you to really try to understand the audience and try to make more engaging content over time. And maybe we knock it out of the park the first time, maybe we don't, but at least we know, is it just like people, is the engagement going down evenly because people are turning off, it's too long? Did we lose them at one moment? Was there a particular kind of like approach or person or style that we did that dramatically changed it? And that the data should be more valuable because from a long-term perspective, that's going to be how you make your content better.
One more quick question from me, and then I'll let Chris do something. And guys, again, we're going to take your questions here in the probably the next 5 or 10 minutes-ish. So if you right below Chris Savage, you'll see us submit a question. Be sure to try to do that. Get your questions in here. And so here's one question, though. So you've got all this analytics, and you've got all that amazing, amazing data back there. And obviously, online, there's tons of people on Elance or all these different sites where you could get somebody for Google Analytics or SEO or all these different things. So where do we go find the person who knows how to read all the data and analyze the Wistia data? It's pretty self-explanatory on some levels, but then there's that aspect, like you're saying, to go, well, it's natural. Well, they're stopping at one point, these kind of things. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's a really interesting point. I think there's an opportunity for a lot of people to step up in this space right now. We kind of like silently launched an agency plan in December that was really just around people who, have a lot of clients, want to help them like figure this stuff out, want to manage more of their stuff for them, and kind of wanted to go from, instead of just selling one video, to selling the idea of like, oh, we're going to do a video a month for you. So I'm seeing people do that. 50 Grove, I don't know if you guys have seen that, but
I did just see that
I'll put
today.
the link in here. Yeah, 50 Grove is like a video production network that we put out a little while ago that is basically based around like budgets and experience. Those people all know Wistia pretty well. But yeah, it's actually, I would say that there's an opportunity for this, and I'm seeing more people bring it up, like where do we go for this stuff? And I think we're probably going to do a balance of like, we'll make some content that better explains it. We may even end up getting some stuff into the product that helps you kind of benchmark against other things. And then I think there's also, this for me is like what you should be helping, like looking at your client's data and saying like, man, in general, the engagement's like 50%, but this one, it's like 90%. I think we should try to help you guys make more content like that.
So talking about the engagement, at what point, the way that I'm explaining it to my clients is I'm saying, number one, let's not create this project like something we're going to produce once, hand to you on a flash drive or FTP you a file, and then we're done, right? I'm trying to sell it more as there is an upfront production fee, but let's work in some residual fees for us to look at the data, analyze it, maybe spend a day tweaking based on the data, run it again for a month, come back, analyze, that kind of thing. And I think in clients, it's starting to click with them. They're starting to get it, that it's more about how can we make this video work really well for 3 years after we get through the first 3 to 6 months, and they're starting to get it. Yeah. What is that percentage of engagement, that engagement percentage where you just want to be, I know there's always room to tweak, but once you hit a certain number, do you have to say, okay, hold on, let's be very careful to not mess with a whole lot at this point because it's working? What's your view on that?
So in general, if you are like, above 75%, you are doing phenomenally well. Like the average engagement for a 1-minute video is 75%. The average engagement for a 30-second video or less is like a little above 80%. And it drops off. And I'm actually going to, we have a blog post where we shared some data on this that I'm going to drop in here also. The thing that I would say is like, it does depend a lot on the context. So I've seen some videos where the engagement doesn't seem that high, but the reason is that the last 30 seconds of it are like a wrap-up or a joke or something. And so the engagement is actually, 90% of people made it through the core message, but then everyone dropped off to go do the thing that the core message was about. And so the number shows up as like an average engagement of 60% or whatever. But when you look at that, how many people are still watching at that second, and you can see like, oh man, 90% of people are still watching a minute in, it actually means you knocked it out of the park, and you can make a decision as to whether or not you want to keep that content at the end of the video. So the other thing I would say is, like, to your other point, you know, the people who are using video really well, just like you guys, like, they're making a lot of it. They're not, you figure out some way to make video on an ongoing basis. And I think that it tends to be less, I see less people re-editing the same video and more people taking learnings from one and applying it to the next. So yeah, the engagement for this is not perfect. Like, we'll fix it because it's a front page video and it's your explaining your product or what have you. And it's fixed, and that's great. But then the next time you make a video for them, it's like, well, let's not do that thing that we took out. Let's take a different approach to, you know, our next piece of content. And I think that's also where I'm seeing people be really successful with client relationships, is saying to those clients, like, you think it's going to be one video to start, but it's probably going to be more. And if I help you manage your analytics, like, I'm the guy who you're going to come to asking questions of, and so I can help you with the other videos in the future too. And I think that's like, that's when it gets really, that's when the engine starts to move, because it's like, kind of, you know, someone who has the ongoing context for how things are performing is going to make better videos than someone who doesn't.
Well, and that's a business model that I'm toying with now, where, you know, I like to come in on the front end and try to close that $5,000 or $10,000 brand video. That's kind of the, you know, here's who we are in 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. But then I'm also trying to attach that, you know, I'm calling it residual marketing, but basically saying this is your calling card, but you're going to need all these little soldiers out here that are going to drive traffic to that, and that's in the form of these, you know, simpler videos, in terms of simpler to produce. And I'm trying to lock them into like a fresh video every week, or maybe one fresh one every month. And I think that plays into exactly what you're talking about, because what I'm learning is your content has to be good, but you really do need a lot of it to get that sort of, that main tidal wave push online with video SEO. I mean, if you type video production Chattanooga right now, all you're going to see is my freaking face in the first like 45 listings, which is awesome. That's exactly what I want. But if I only had 3, I may or may not even be there.
It's just tough. I mean, I think that you know, on the video SEO front, right, like Google.com values videos because they're hard to make, and they're rare for most search terms, and they're information dense. But if you can figure out how to make them, there's an enormous opportunity to get out there and be the company that's doing that. And I think, you know, your example is a perfect one. But there's a lot of people like that. It's just figuring out the way to what the mix of that stuff is. Because I'm also seeing things where someone goes and they make a video for their clients, they make ongoing video for their clients, and at the same time, they teach their clients how to make screencast videos. They're like, hey, look, like, you guys can do all these screencast videos. This will be super helpful for you. Guess what? I'm still going to manage the analytics, and I'm going to help you do the SEO for these things too. And like, I'm going to take the learnings here and I'm going to apply it to this next one. So when you pay me $3,000 to make a video for you, I have all the data and I know exactly what your audience cares about, or I know where the holes are in your content strategy. So it's a really, really interesting time. And it also, I think when you think about it from that perspective, becomes clear just how early we are in this game. Like, it is still very, very early days for people using video really well to market their businesses.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Phenomenal. Great stuff, guys. Well, we're super pumped for everybody to be here today. We've got a great audience here for us. We're going to be taking your questions pretty much right now, guys. So be sure to get those in, because we're not going to probably have very much time. I know, Chris, we try to really value everybody's time, and so a few times we've gone a little bit over. If there's a few extra questions, I don't know what your schedule's like. But we want to be cognizant of that for him. So, guys, get your questions in.
I think I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've
And
got a
then
little
for
time
anybody who's new to the call, for expert interrogations, we typically try to do this every week. After this call is over, there will be an instant replay. So if you guys are coming in midway, you'll be able to go back and instantly start watching this video. We also have an archives page with all the old expert interrogations we've done. If you guys would like to see somebody else on here, use the Suggest an Expert button above. And finally, also, every question that was asked during this call and all the links that Chris is mentioning, they'll be below the call when this is over, probably in a couple days. And it'll say transcription, and you go below, and you'll see all the questions discussed, so you can go right to those timestamps within the call, which really helps, everybody's time is money, and so maybe they can't listen to the whole thing, but you see a couple questions you really want to hear. So get your questions in, guys, and let's keep moving. So go ahead, Chris.
All right.
Mr. Simmons.
The first question is from John Corbin. He asks, how is Wistia better or different than Vimeo, and what are some of the plans for the future?
That's a great question. So first of all, I'll just say that I really love Vimeo too. I think it's like an awesome community and they do great work. I think the biggest difference is just the focus on our audience, and then there's like a lot of little decisions and a lot of details and a lot of differentiation between that. Where our core is really just, we're trying to help people market better, in particular with video on their site. We're trying to help people generate leads and traffic and conversions and, take customers and turn them into champions. And for me, that means things like the email capture, that means analytics that look at how an individual watches, that means like the calls to action, that means like more customization around the player, that means integration with other things, that means a full support team. There's a lot of stuff. It means video SEO. It's kind of like, to me, we look very different, but obviously, I'm very biased. So I hope that helps kind of answer that piece of it. And then where are we going? I think I can't give too much away because we're always changing our roadmap, but I think you're going to see a lot more of what you've been seeing recently. A big thing that we've done is we've built the groundwork. If you haven't seen the lab stuff that we've done, I definitely think you should check it out. But
I'm not sure where.
For Simmons, you got that?
Yeah.
I can find it.
Sorry, man, we interrupted you there,
buddy. But so basically, we've been trying to bring more. We've been trying to bring more control and more ways to drive value around the videos themselves. And we've built an infrastructure to do that. So the labs you see now are just the first labs. There's going to be more labs. I think you're just going to see us removing more steps. I think you're going to, I can't go too much farther than that, except for me, it's all about helping people drive video, like value with video with the least amount of work on their website in a way that actually affects their business.
Okay, cool. And you guys are going to integrate that Learning Center playlist. That's definitely going to be on the list of what's new.
I'm not saying anything about that.
Maybe yeah. All right. Tim Daniel, he's a friend to Create. Did you hire a pro video to create your videos for your site, or was it all in-house?
So at this point, it's all in-house. That's not completely fair because Chris Levine, who kind of runs the video here, initially started as an outside person, but we kind of had an eye from the very beginning that we wanted to bring him on if we could, and we were able to, which is great. So it's all in-house now.
Awesome. Dennis O'Clair, he's a Create member. Let's see. Chris mentioned that his clients are always asking the same stinking questions, and he seemed to imply that Wistia is the answer to those questions. What are those stinking questions, and how does Wistia address them or resolve the issues?
So is that you, Chris, or me, Chris?
That's what I said, but I'm assuming he's asking you the question. I mean, I can just say a couple things, and then you can build on.
Yeah, why don't you tell him?
Yeah, it's me now. No, Dennis. Basically, what I'm talking about there is, clients say, well, do you have an FTP? Where can I go to upload my material? And then I have to do the same email that says go to sixstrongman.com/clients. This is how you do it. Blah blah blah. And so now with the video, I plan on creating a learning center that shows them how to do that. So I can just send them a link, and I'm done. And the same thing, I mean, I have clients that don't want to pay me to write the script, so they want to do it themselves. So I'm going to create tutorials that show them basically how I do it so that they can kind of have a good product for me to work with without me having to do the training every single time. That's all I'm going to say, because Dennis, ask me tomorrow on the call, and I'll be glad to go into as much detail as you want, but this is Chris's time, man. I don't want to take it over. All right.
Next question.
Chris Raines.
Another Chris.
Chris, huge fan of Wistia and what you guys are doing. Thanks for taking the time here. My question, what companies can you point to that are totally kicking butt at video marketing and using it to drive sales? Good question.
That's a great question. I think I'll give you two very different examples. So one, I don't know if you know SEO Moz, but so I'll get it in here so that people can. So SEO Moz does every week a show that's called Whiteboard Friday. And it's a video that they release on Fridays of someone in front of a whiteboard. It may sound boring, but it's actually super interesting. And what they've done is they have someone who does like one take explaining a topic, giving a presentation, 3 to 7 minutes long. They do not edit that. They edit the bumpers. They'll do a couple takes till they get it right. So it might take half an hour to get this thing done. But every week they come up with a piece of content. And their audience knows the content is coming. And the content is long, and so they're generating transcriptions from it. And so what they're doing is they're building a ridiculous SEO engine that is also building an enormous amount of brand value and bringing people back to their site every single Friday, which I know is like driving a lot of success for them. And I think that the cool thing about what they've done is they've hacked their production by finding a way to do it where basically they leave the light set up in front of a whiteboard and they just do that same thing every time. Now, they also do live action things. They do other stuff. They work with other companies to help create some of that content, but they figured out a way to do it themselves. And then in a very different vein, I would point to MailChimp. And if you go to their site and see what they're doing right now, like they have a video that is an autoplay video that is a silent autoplay video on their front page. And so it's a very interesting experience because you can kind of get a taste for what the product is without ever having to try the product or do anything. And if you land on that page, you're automatically going to see what's happening. And then they've done a series called Customer Stories where they just go around and interview customers and they do not say, it's not a testimonial. It's not like we use MailChimp because it's so great and they're the best and Freddie the Monkey is like so funny. Like they instead focus entirely on their customers. But what the result is that you watch this content that's actually really interesting that they can make an infinite amount of because they have an enormous number of customers. And you just know that that's what MailChimp cares about. And so whenever they put that content out there, at least I feel more of a connection to the brand and that I have an understanding for how MailChimp operates, which at least for me makes it easier for me to trust what they're doing. And then another one this is an example of one that's kind of ramping up that I would check out is litmus.com. And these guys are figuring out how to get videos out on I would say a weekly or bi-weekly basis at this point. They have a couple different series that they're trying out that are all on their site. So one of them is talking about basically they help you do email design testing online. And they will, you send an email, it shows you what it looks like in every different, inbox, like Gmail, Hotmail, Outlook, on different devices, like what have you. So they're doing one series where they talk about what the percentage is of these different clients in the market and how that's changing. They do another series about inspirational content. They're basically putting their faces on camera, letting you build a connection with them. And I think they're in the early days of that, but I've been very impressed.
Perfect. Awesome. Carl Olson, what's up, buddy? Put my man Carl up. Will streaming video become an option in Wistia? Currently, it appears to be progressive download. Does good, but there are times streaming is useful. Thanks.
Yeah, great question. Right now, it is all progressive download. We have unbuffered seeking, so you can go to any moment in the video and start from there. I don't know if we'll move to streaming at some point. Like right now, the thing I really like about progressive download is if your client or someone's watching your video and they don't have a great bandwidth connection, but they do want to watch it, they can pause it and actually let that thing buffer up. And so they can still absorb the content, which they can't do if their connection sucks. And where I see that being particularly helpful is on mobile. That's been very helpful, and just in areas of the country and the world that don't have as much broadband penetration. That may change. Like, there's no particular reason why we're very married to it. It's just been the best tool for the job so far.
Well, and what I've found is that a lot of large corporations will ban streaming anything. So progressive download is the only way to kind of get through the firewall. All right, so SL3, which is actually Shalalala Productions. Just trying to give you a shout out there, buddy. So, hi, Chris. You have a great website and hope to see you at the meetup session in Somerville tonight. My question is, what trends are you seeing of the metrics companies use to measure whether or not a video is effective in reaching their audience? And do you see companies are effectively marketing their videos well and promoting either their company or product?
Big question there. I would say, I think to really tell like how well videos are working, you're going to want to look at a bunch of different things. Like, you're obviously going to want to look at things like, what's the play rate on the video, play rate, what percentage of people are clicking play, what does the engagement look like, how many people are going on and taking the next action, but also, how much traffic are you driving with the video to your site. I think this is something that a lot of people forget. It's really easy to like underappreciate this, but just like with you guys, like if you're sharing out the link to the video and you're on like your site, like this interview is on your site, then that traffic can go and do different things versus like if there's a lot more people on the Spreecast site. Same thing with your videos. Like if you make great content, people will go to where that great content is, and you'll see that reflected in traffic numbers versus like watching the video somewhere else and trying to get the traffic to drive back to you. So I think you have to look at traffic. I mean, I think you have to look at conversions if that's one of the goals. I think you have to look at social sharing. I think really there's so much you can do with video. It just comes down to looking at the context, trying to make sure that you understand what the goal is, and then what analytics do you want just in general in your marketing, and you should throw the video analytics like into that piece.
Awesome. Todd Umans, hope I said that right, buddy. Have you found with online video marketing that the shorter the video, the better it is at engaging the audience?
Yes, that is definitely true. I can't remember if I put that link up there before, but the shorter the video is, like it will tend to be more engaging just by the very fact that it is short. What I like to say is it's inversely correlated to the commitment that someone has to your brand is like how long or short the video should be. So if someone doesn't know you very well, often videos that work well for those people are short ones that start to build and earn trust. Whereas like, if someone's subscribed to a service and they're learning things in general, they're going to be way more willing to go through much longer videos, and the engagement of those much longer videos will be a lot higher. Like if you look at the engagement on, I don't know if you guys know Mixergy.com, but Andrew Warner's like interview site, but he has like pretty solid engagement for hour-long content, and he'll get 30% of people to watch a video all the way through. Sometimes he'll get 45% of people to watch a video all the way through. And he has a core audience that's coming back and watching a lot of content and knows what they're getting into when they watch that, versus like I think if you took ads out to those videos, they would perform very differently because the people don't necessarily know Andrew, Mixergy, all the other stuff.
Well,
so was it your guy? Go ahead.
I would just say a real quick question then. So you mentioned a lot about some of the shorter videos and what those engagements are that are decent. What about for 30 minutes or an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours? Do you have numbers there that's still good, that somebody should be like, oh, wow, I got a 30% engagement on an hour-long video. That's actually really good, as opposed to that's a disaster. What are your thoughts there?
Yes. So first thing, I put a link to a study that we did on this. I can't remember if I shared that before. So if I did, you got it twice. But basically, for videos that are like 20 to 30 minutes, we saw average engagements about 35%. And 30 to 45 minutes, it's about 30%. It drops a little bit below there. But if you look at that graph that's like lower down on the page of the link that I just put in there, basically what's happening, and actually if you look, I don't know if I have it in here, but there's a real drop-off like between 1 and 3 minutes. The drop-off is pretty steep. And then it actually slows down, that people know that they're watching longer content, and the engagement from 3 minutes to 6 minutes does not drop off nearly as fast as it does from 1 to 3. And so the longer form content, if you're getting if you're getting 20% of people to watch it, that's pretty good. If you're getting a lot higher than that, 30%, 40%, 50%, that's amazing for content that's longer than 10 minutes.
Awesome. And a lot of it, I think, goes back to what you were saying earlier, Chris, about if they have to make more of a commitment on the front end to access the content, they kind of already know that they're going to be in for it a little bit. So I think that's an important note. But it's so awesome to realize that you can tell a client, look, we can make a 2-minute video, but the odds are good that a 4-minute video might perform a little bit better, based on that particular data. Okay.
Yeah,
this is
absolutely.
From Towns Media. How do you choose producers for your 50 Grove site? Do you hunt for the best, or do they come to you? Great site, by the way.
Right now, it's all inbound. So it's all people who have come to us and said that they want to be on there. And what we try to do is we go through batches of interviewing people, basically, to make sure that they're legit, and we don't want spammers on there and stuff like that. So if you're interested, I believe that there's an email on there that you can email us into, and we'll get on the queue. And the next time we go through a batch, we'll talk.
And I imagine you would need to be a Wistia member and also know your way around Wistia for kind of all of that to qualify.
You don't have to, actually. I mean, anyone can get on there and do it. And we have people on there who predominantly use Vimeo or predominantly use YouTube. But we just thought that they're great producers and that would be good for our audience. It's helpful, I think, obviously. But if you have there's a lot of good reasons to use all the stuff that's out there. There's a lot of good reasons to use YouTube. There's a lot of good reasons to use Vimeo. There's a lot of good reasons to use Brightcove and other players out there. So I'm happy to encourage people to use those things if they're the right things for them.
Awesome. Next question from Blaine Curry. What's up? He's a Create Insider. In what ways can Wistia uniquely be used on the back end of a website for a video production company to send a private preview of a finished or revised project for client preview? Are your customers embedding them on their own pages and security levels, or do you offer individual/branded video pages, unique URLs? So private viewing on the back end,
this is
unique URLs.
No, I got it. Is this a staged question? This is too good. Basically, yeah. So when we first started, Wistia was all about private video sharing, and it was about helping producers in the edit process share content with other people who weren't in the same place. I edited a feature-length documentary that was never released, but when I was doing it, the director was in a different city, then the screenwriter was in a different city, and I was making DVDs every day and shipping them around. And so one of the core uses that we wanted to solve for was helping people do that. So you can upload a video to Wistia, you can upload your own logo to the page, brand it for you, make it so that it's not indexable, no one can find it, share it just with people by link. You can actually even invite people in by email address and control access on a project-by-project level. There's time-coded comments, so you can comment at specific moments in the video to give rich feedback. So everything you're discussing can be done just in the core Wistia experience.
Do you know if that functionality can be embedded into another page at this point, or is it all you just got to send them to that Wistia page?
You could take the video and upload it privately and then embed that somewhere else. Okay. And with the JavaScript API to the player, people will do other commenting systems and stuff.
Okay.
It's pretty technical, and you're going to have to dig in pretty deep to do that. So I wouldn't expect you to do that yet. Yeah. You can actually CNAME your account to something else. So we'll see people who upload their logos, CNAME their account, and make it videos.cascade.com, and you have your own login portal and everything, and you can send clients to that thing, and they'll log in and go.
When you say, do you say CNAME? What are you saying there?
You can basically change the URL. So we do a little magic when you sign up with your email address, where we look at your email address and generate a unique account for you. So if it's my email and it's chrissavage@gmail.com, it'll be when it's creating an account, it'll say chrissavage.wistia.com. You can change the chrissavage.wistia.com to be anything else that you have access to, like another domain.
John Corbin is in the chat wanting to know what's the email. I guess on 50 Grove right now it's saying that you're not accepting anybody else, and if there's an email that they can send to, you can put that in
there. If you send it into, let me think of the best email right now. This is a special offer only for people who are watching this right now because we get so many inquiries. I think if you just send it into info@50grove.com, then that'll get you onto the list.
All right.
People are going to be mad at me for that one, but it's okay.
As the influx of emails starts coming. Okay, Pounds Media with another question. I wonder how many clients only care about views, not any other measurement. Hopefully not many. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a natural thing to care about that at first, and it's a public thing that people can point to and show how legitimate your video is. I think, unfortunately, in general, the problem with relying on views today is that you can just buy them, and it's not as legitimate as it used to be, and it's not going to give you any. If that's all you truly care about, and you don't care about trying to make your videos better, good luck to you. It's very challenging to play that game and play it well, but some people do it really well. In general, I think the reason why you're going to care about the other forms of measurement is because you can actually understand the audience, make better content, then you can really see the needle moving. But with all of this stuff, I mean, I feel like a lot of what we've talked about today, it's just that to do this right requires making lots of videos, and it requires taking some time. And that can be intimidating. For me, I look at that as like super empowering because most people aren't going to do that. Just like most people aren't going to do email marketing well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge advantage right now, guys. If you can be the one in your market to sort of dominate with that video SEO, I mean, you're going to hold that position for a long time. And I think the key word is conversion, Chris, as opposed to, I mean, views and engagement. Engagement's great, but even if your engagement's fantastic, but you're not making any sales, then you got to figure out there's something going on in that video that's not getting the point across. So there's definitely a lot of variables to consider in that.
Yep.
All right, so Derek. All right, he says, I've been multitasking over here, so forgive me if this has already been asked. A common challenge we have is getting the customer to see the value of video. Can you share your thoughts on overcoming this and how you would show the value and power of video? In I guess trying to persuade the client to do a project or a video marketing program.
That is a really good question. I think the thing that makes it a lot easier is really aligning video to context. And so if the goal, the way that you can see value of video is if you're making a learning center-like thing, or you're just releasing videos on your blog and you see the email addresses that you're getting, it becomes pretty easy to say like, oh, here's the value. It's emails, and we got a bunch of them, and I don't know exactly how much an email is worth to me, but I know that it means that I can communicate with someone forever, and that's really valuable. Or it can be, well, if I have the great content on my site and people are sharing links to my site where they can then come back and sign up with my normal calls to action and become a part of my flow, then the value is going to be in the traffic. But actually, I think the thing that for me has been probably the most interesting and not the thing I expected is the brand value of having people connect with us on like a personal level. And a lot of people feel like they know people at Wistia. They feel like they know me. They feel like they know the rest of the team. And, not every video is going to involve people from the company in it. But I do think that when that is done, you see the value because people start coming up to you and saying that. Or when they email they're in, they instantly use like your first name to ask questions. And you get stopped on the street and other crazy things happen. And I think that personal connection, if you can get a client to experience it, is like unstoppable. It's like that's the holy grail. It's the same thing as like you go to your local bar and you go there enough and they actually know your name. And they're like, oh, so you're going to have like the burger and fries, like guacamole, no cheese, and, whatever, like salsa on the side. I'm like, yes, that's my normal thing. That's what I do. Thank you. Like, okay, Chris, here's your tab, blah, 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 blah. Like that feels really good. And it's a similar kind of thing that you can create. And I think people just intuitively know. Same thing if you get in person with somebody and you feel a connection to them and you have a great conversation. And then now when you see that person on Twitter, you're like, man, I really want to pay attention to what they're saying. Like, I feel like that person's really smart and so great. I think that's the other stuff that can come from it. It's hard to track, but I think you can sell it.
All right. Well, we're going to take one more question from Mr. Mike Gorga in just a second. But, guys, we appreciate everybody who's been on the call with us today. And a stat that I think that's really interesting that Chris may know about here is the power of live video in the fact of engagement. You know, that ability to keep people, you know, there's been 90 consistent people on this call for the last hour. Whether or not they're actually listening, now that's a different story, but they have been on the call. But for us, your ability of that brand and getting out in front of people and building that trust, our biggest way with what we've been doing is this right here. You know, we've been doing this week after week after week, and each week it grows. Each week people trust us more. And to get people to sign up for our program, this is where we've converted people, is right here when people can see us. And so that's the power, guys. And if you guys are loving this, again, if you wouldn't mind sharing it, that would be amazing. And a replay will be available right after this. But for you guys, if you are loving what you're seeing here, and we have these every week, we've got another awesome one coming up on Thursday. But if you're on expertinterrogations.com, sign up for the newsletter, because we try to make sure that we notify you a couple times the day of the call, because we know everybody gets busy. So you'll get an email right before we go live on these calls, so you can be notified. So appreciate if you do that. Again, in terms of the spam, we don't spam people. We just try to make sure we notify you of upcoming awesomeness that's happening here. We really want to help you guys grow as video professionals. So we appreciate Mr. Savage being on here today. We're going to take the final question and let him be on his way and rock and roll.
All right, Mr. Mike Gorga. Looks like to run a successful studio today, you must take on the responsibility for distribution and effectiveness. Must we do all that just to get the production business, or can you sell video SEO services to anything but large clients?
So you can absolutely do this without doing the production. I think a lot of people are looking for help and guidance, trying to figure out, like, they can do the production. They've got their own kind of like their own way of doing it in their office or out and about, what have you, but the piece of isolating what kinds of content they should be making, which is the biggest part of the SEO game, is just what do I want to rank for? Like, what are people searching for? What does this look like to the people outside of my company? You know, what are the things, how can I fit this stuff together? What does an outsider's perspective do to help here? There's no question that you can help with all of that, with that stuff. And I don't think you even have to take it on and say, like, we're going to do the distribution for this, and this is my company's distribution, and that's how it works. It's almost just like, no, we're going to help you piece together, like, you've made the video, which is actually the hardest part, is making the video. Now, this kind of video would do really well over here. This kind of video would do really well over here. You know, this thing you should do more of. This thing you should do less of. Like, I think all of that stuff is very, very helpful, as it often is to have someone with an outside eye come in and help.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, using a tool like that, Mike, is going to help you sell more if you understand exactly how to use it. And even if they just pay you for the production, the fact that you have that knowledge can position you as the better vendor. And then you can also upsell them on that video SEO package after the fact. And Mike, if I can just ask one more question. I mean, Chris, how are you seeing some guys do that? I mean, we've had a lot of talk in our membership calls about how can we use a tool like Wistia, I mean, other than just reselling hosting, but how can we package an ongoing marketing or video SEO thing that makes sense for clients to pay for it? And what are you seeing some of your guys actually be able to charge for it? Maybe what does that look like?
Yeah, I think, the exact cost is going to be different for everybody. But what I'm seeing is more like, okay, we're going to do some production for you, and we know how to charge for that. And then we're going to charge you a fee, and the fee is an ongoing fee, and that's going to be not even a retainer. It's like the consulting fee to be on top of this and to help you guys work through it. Just like if you have an SEO consultant, they're going to tell you, the first thing we're going to do is make your big list and figure out where your opportunities are, blah, blah, blah. And then we're going to crank out content, and we're going to get links, and we're going to do all these different things. And like, it's like, the fee might start here, and then it drops, and then it keeps going. And I think that I'm seeing people who are doing that similar thing. And even just like, I'm seeing people who are able to sell this to existing Wistia customers who have their own accounts. And they have their own account, and they know all about Wistia, and so they're not even trying to sell them the distribution. They're like, just add me as a manager on that thing and let me come in there and help you figure out what's actually working. Like, I'm an expert. And I'm like, okay. And then they go in there and they're like, this one's better than you thought. This one's not, like, because that piece, like a lot of the questions you're asking me are similar questions that I think you can be answering for your clients just by looking at, like, if you can get a wide enough view on what's working and what isn't. And the cool thing is that for them, it feels really inexpensive. Because you can be making the videos yourself, but if you want help, it's like, how much would you pay someone to be full-time doing SEO for you? You'd pay them a lot, How much would you pay paying someone full-time to be making content for you? You'd be paying them a lot. And so there's some distance between zero and the second a lot, which is like a good price to pay to have someone be consulting and fighting for this stuff, and making better things. Oh yeah, Travis Wilbur says in the comments, there's tons of people who don't even look at their stats, and that you just going in there and helping them do that would help them make better content.
Awesome.
Well, man, we truly appreciate you being on here, and we'll make sure we give a plug. I mean, I just put it in there again for anybody who has no idea, has just been listening. Again, Wistia.com is we got the CEO and founder here, Mr. Chris Savage. Go check that out. They have implemented, it wasn't there when we started for anybody, because there are some people that talk about the cost being high, and there's all different variations, and really in the realm you're at, you're right on par with really what everybody else is charging anyways. But you do have a free account, so there is a free account. If you want to maybe just talk about that for just a second, give you guys a nice plug here, rock that out. We'd love for you to, give your little pitch if you want. And
Sure. I mean, I'll just say you can get started for free, up to 3 videos. Our big thing is we want people to be able to be successful with that content and actually believe that by the time that they start paying for Wistia, that they understand the value of it. And then for us, obviously, we have been able to, as you mentioned, get our prices down. We've been working to do that because we want to drive as much value as we can for everybody, but we also want to make sure that we can deliver amazing customer support, and we can continue to invest in making the platform better. And that does require charging some prices, but as we've been able to get better at handling the support and make the product better and automate away certain problems and make our documentation better and, all of that stuff, we've been able to bring the prices down. So it's $20 a month from there on up. And people, I think people are pretty happy with it. I don't know.
We love it. We love it. So we know we don't with the videos, if you guys have seen it, the most powerful way to do testimonials, guys, isn't to plug yourself. So we'll give him the plug there. We definitely have been utilizing Wistia for the last year, and it's been super powerful to be able to, some of you guys might know if if you don't know about Wistia, but we're able to see how engaged you guys are with our content. We put a video up and we link to it, and we can go, wow. I mean, I just did a recent campaign where it was a 15-minute video, and we had a 70% engagement on it. And, it was really powerful. And it was from an ad to a page where we gave, then we captured the email and then went to a training. We were able to keep everybody. So, it's really powerful, guys, to see that and then go, oh, wow. But we've had some where the engagement's not so good. And then you're like, well, what do we got to do to tweak this? So, yeah, guys, check it out. It's on the screen. It's been an amazing call today, and the customer service over there is awesome. I know you guys have been probably overwhelmed now with the amount of people probably contacting you for everything under the blue moon, but appreciate you taking the time today, my friend. I really do. I truly appreciate it. I know everybody enjoyed it, and I'm sure this replay will get watched many, many, many a time. So, Chris, anything else, buddy? Simmons?
That's it, man. I could talk to Chris all day, but he's got bigger fish to fry, man. Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. I mean, thanks for having me, guys. It was really fun. It's humbling to be around so many people who are excited about this. So I really appreciate it, and I look forward to chatting in the future.
Rock, man.
All right, man. Take it easy.
We'll have you on again in the future. Thanks, man.
Yes.
See you, bud.
Awesome,
Wow.
everybody.
Man, that was great. That was great. I've been looking forward to this one for a while, man. And I'd forgotten that it was going to be today until this morning, that it was going to be, Chris today. And I've just been fired up all day about, man, there's so many. I was like, if I could talk to Chris over a beer or something, what would I ask him with all the stuff that I'm doing? And I feel like we got through about 90% of it today, man. So I'm fired up. It's really, really cool.
Well, hey, guys, again, I put the link on here. Expert Interrogations, the Chris Savage, if you guys for some reason came in a different way. If you guys aren't on the email list and you've come to this page and you really love it, on expertinterrogations.com there you can sign up. Everybody here in the chats you're seeing saying, thank you so much for emailing me because you forget about it. So if you're not on the email list, definitely get on that. We just send a few emails out a week about the calls a couple times that day so that you know what's going on. So when about 10 minutes from going live, you'll get a quick email that just says come check it out so you don't forget about it. Because the power of this is that instead of normal interviews like a lot that's happening out there in this space, we've chosen to do these live so that you don't just sit and watch a 45-minute video after the fact. You guys can sit here and actually the last half you get your questions in. You guys get to actually interact with the expert, which I think is super, super powerful. And so we're going to have somebody else on Thursday, which is going to be a lot of fun. We're also giving a GoPro away, so you guys on this page too can link up to that. If you haven't signed up for that, we're going to give that away at the end of the month. A lot of good stuff. Again, like I said, as soon as we end this, there'll be a replay available for you guys to check out. And there's all the old archives of all this. We've been doing this particular thing since I think the beginning of February. And there's got to be 15 or 20 of those in there right now. And there's a transcription below each one with the questions and links that were discussed. So you guys can go straight to the timestamps of different questions inside of each call. So I encourage you to check that out. And then finally, I got a link here for anybody who hasn't seen it. Chris and I run a site called Create Insights where we're here to help video professionals take their business to the next level. We did a Spreecast actually last week where we did some Facebook training. I actually generated for a buddy of mine about $8,000 worth of business off of Facebook advertising within a matter of 2 to 3 weeks. And I did some training on that. That's not live anymore because what we do have is actually I'll delete what Chris just put up. We've got we've actually got this that we ran. We have a special offer that we are running right now where we do have, you'll get to see a video on that page of exactly what's going on. But Chris and I do a Spreecast every single Wednesday for 2 hours. And if you can't make those calls, you can always email us your questions. We answer them live. We'll email you back. And the other cool thing is, guys, this isn't just for people who, are struggling. This is also for people who are crushing it because we're trying to build an amazing community of like-minded video professionals who can all help each other out. There's already guys on our membership who have been working with each other and getting business. It's already paid for it. Below the video on that, you're going to see the success stories we've had. So we're here to help you guys. That's the bottom line. We've been doing Create Insights since last May, and just really getting a lot of results for people. They're really being able to change their business. So we hope you'll give us the opportunity. Definitely check that link out on the screen. And we hope you'll catch us on future Expert Interrogations, and we hope you'll sign up for the email newsletter so that you can be notified so you don't forget about these things because, we all get busy. Chris, you got anything else to say, my man?
I was just going to say that, one of the things that I thought was very cool or has been very cool about the coaching is that, we have members at all levels. I mean, there's people that are, in some cases, doing better than we are, with the production industry. And then some that are kind of our peers and others that are just, kind of getting started in their career. And it's been such an amazing thing to see how, it's not just Michael and I that are helping. It's other members who are also experienced and have figured out how to run their companies, kind of reach down and help pick people up, give them opportunities for work, hire them. I mean, I've hired several Create Insiders to help me with freelance type projects. And it's just a cool way to get the information you need, stay motivated, build this positive community. It is zero tolerance for negativity. There's a lot of forums online where if you put something out there and say, hey, can you critique my work, 85 posts later, there might not be a single thing that was a legitimate criticism and then teaching you how to fix it. as opposed to just, tearing you down, because most people are just generally unhappy with who they are. And we have, just zero tolerance for that kind of thing. Now, with that being said, we're not going to blow smoke up your butt either. I mean, we're going to let you know, hey, look, there's things you need to do to improve on this if you want to improve as a business person. And we're true to that. I mean, Michael and I committed to just be the business side of production, as opposed to teaching tech and creative and all that stuff. Because number one, you can get that anywhere. But number two, you can be average as a video producer and do really, really, really well if you understand how to run your company. So imagine what you can do if you're a great video producer and then you also learn how to be good or great as a business owner. When those two match up, amazing things happen. So we've created this resource. Hopefully you guys will check it out. That link is still up there. So we'd love to see you. We do have a coaching call tomorrow in 24 hours, and we can talk Wistia to death if you guys want to go through just all the business models that I'm creating and what's working in the sales process. Would certainly love to do it there.
Yeah, and guys, if you want to see Wistia in action, click that link on the screen, because that's Wistia in action right there, and I'm able to tell, who's engaged with the video and everything. And guys, as I say in that video, we've been doing this a year. We couldn't back this up 12 months ago, but our personal guarantee is that, don't make money an issue on this at all. We do charge. We've talked about it before, because this is a business now. This isn't just we want to help people on the side for fun, and and we still kind of fall off the map for a couple months and come back. I mean, we haven't skipped a coaching call since last May, and we don't plan to ever skip any of these expert interrogations either. But in regards to free content, we do the expert interrogations every week. There's a lot of great free content on our site that you can check out. And so it's good stuff, guys. We won't sit here and go on and on and on, but we hope you'll check it out. And we got one thing. When is the Facebook marketing coming? We are working on a training for the Facebook that we'll bring out in May. And then finally, we are raising the prices, and that is one of the things. This isn't employee or anything else like that, but the reality is, we are raising the prices. I mean, it's $24 a month right now, but you're going to get all our ebooks, one of which, changed my life. When I made $40,000 in 2007, made, not 200,000. I've, made that since, but $100,000 in 2008, finding Chris. And one of those ebooks, the six-figure videographer and whatnot, helped us do that. John Wallage is saying on Create, do you cover bidding and treatment for network contracts? Chris can talk on that for just a second there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know specifically what you mean by network contracts, but we do a lot of talking about, writing proposals, selling that, developing those contracts. One of the ebooks that you would get by signing up is called How to Write Video Proposals, and that's kind of my whole system for how I, write proposals for $5,000 projects. I've written and, landed proposals for $250,000 contracts, using that same system. So it's kind of the same process to get through it, really, no matter who you're selling and what level the project is. There does come a point where if something gets kind of complicated, we're always going to say, hey, you know what, we can get you started and we can get you feeling really good about the contract, but there's no substitute for having legal assistants tell you, yes, this will stand up, yes, this is rock solid, but you can definitely save some money by taking a template that you've spent a lot of time on to that attorney for them to kind of bless it or tweak, as opposed to going to them with a blank sheet of paper and saying, I need to create a contract, because that can cost you a lot of money. I mean, here's the thing, guys. We're not lawyers. We're not accountants. We're business owners. We have our own lawyers. We have our own accountants, and these are people that, we go to seek that high-level advice. But I can tell you, in the 13 years that I've been in business for myself, I think I've taken 2 contracts to a lawyer to have them kind of bless it. And it's just because my whole model for how I do business, and it's very being helpful and being, not being afraid to compromise and all of that kind of stuff, it has kept me out of a lot of trouble. So I just, I think that's one thing in the video production industry. And again, I'm not an attorney, so please don't take this as legal advice. But I think in a creative service business, you can turn clients away if you're too legal. I mean, if it's too, every, T is crossed, every I is dotted. There's a bunch of jargon in there that you don't even understand, much less the client. So I like to look at it more as creating video production agreements or proposal documents. You know, once you approve this proposal, as opposed to saying things like once you sign this contract or once you send me the contract. Because even though the agreement is still a contract, it's just a way to kind of soften it, and it makes people feel a little less like, oh, wait a minute, we got to run this through our legal department. So anyway, yeah, John, we talk about that a lot. You know, I've got a lot of experience in the proposal writing process for all kinds of different clients, industries, you know, broadcast, not broadcast, the whole deal.
And that's the thing too, guys, just to point out, I mean, every week, you know, we're dealing with the members, you know, what they've got going on. And so it's not just Chris and I, it's also everybody in the chat. So unlike today where we're focused on video marketing and Wistia, every week for 2 hours, we're focused on you. The whole time, there's no pitching, there's no anything else. It's nothing but getting down to, you know, if John, you had 25 questions, then we're going to answer your 25 questions on that call, and everybody else is going to, you know, give their feedback. And again, it's very positive. Travis Wilbur, thanks for signing up, buddy. You know, he said he just bought a Create subscription the other day. I've been going through all the old calls. Gold, Jerry, gold. And so, you know, man, we truly, truly appreciate that. And guys, like I said, we're just super, super pumped to be doing this. And, you know, we're pumped to be building an amazing community. We're just here to basically, you know, give you guys amazing, amazing value. I saw a massive hole in the space in regards to so many guys teaching you how to shoot video, and tech and creative, but then so many people are that you know, word phrase, the starving artist, you know, and we want to help you guys either reach a greater level of success or just even succeed in general. You know, we had a guy the other day, he's like, you know, I'm just so pumped about this because now I'm able to start getting paid more what I'm worth. And so, yeah, and another one from Richard Sands. I mean, I have to put that out there. It's shameless self-promotion, but just so you guys know this is real, these are real people that are on this call right now. It was, I just signed up for the program. Don't miss out on this resource, guys, if you're serious about taking your business to the next level. And so, and then Blaine Corey, I just plug it too really quick. I mean, it's great, guys. I appreciate the support so much. Listen to a backlog of coaching calls and interrogations during my cross-country road trip last week. Love the audio downloads. Yeah, we have audio downloads on the back end there too, guys. And again, every coaching call from all the ones we've done has a transcription where you can see all the questions that were asked with the timestamp, you know, all the links. And we got a lot of other videos there too. So we can go on and on. Guys, check out the link that we've put in the chat and on the screen. And watch all our old expert interrogations if you guys don't believe us. And hopefully you'll join us now, if not in the future. But rock and roll, guys. I think we could, we're good, Chris. So,
yeah, man, I think you may have already said this, but here's the deal, guys. If you join our program and you're with us for a year and you decide without a shadow of a doubt in 12 months that you have not gotten your money's worth, we will write you a freaking check and give it to you to get your money back, because we've got guys that are now, you know, we're averaging $2,000 a project at best that are now getting upwards of $20,000. We've got people that are going from 500 to 8,000. I mean, the bottom line is, it's not that we're geniuses. It's just that we know what we're doing and we know how to package it in a way that you can really make this thing work for you guys. But so that's the guarantee, guys. I mean, you know, obviously, if everybody did that, it would be a bad deal. But we're so confident. I mean, we've got, you know, a couple hundred plus members now. Everybody, as far as we know, is having really great results. Our retention rate is extraordinary. I think it's easily over 90%. Of the people that join. And we've got so many members that joined literally on May 1st last year, Michael. They're still freaking hanging out, and it's awesome.
Well, I got to give that one thing, Chris. You said that at Critical Inch, that Al Pacino clip. It's like, guys, you know, we can be at any level that we're at. It doesn't matter, but we can all use a coach. And it's the difference between you know, in the sports arena. You know, a team can suck one year and be amazing the next year, and it's not because they changed the players. It's because they changed the people at the top, the leaders, the people leading them. And so, you know, that's the bottom line. And John Corbin saying it's more about the empowerment than it is about the dollars. Exactly, man. I mean, the reality is no matter what anybody does for you, you still have to take action. But a lot of guys will attest to the fact that we get them pumped up every week, and that's what it's meant to do here with Expert Interrogations. You know, everything we're offering is, you know, and there's the link for the Al Pacino one. Guys, watch that. I got to leave you on that. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to send us an email. We're here for you, and we're super pumped, and we'll hope you'll catch you on another Expert Interrogation, and be sure to get on the email list so we can notify you of future calls. So rock and roll, guys. I think we're gonna rock it out with that. So thanks, Chris.
See you guys. Yeah, buddy.